Hey everybody, here's where we're at today. So I got the transmission in, everything lined up perfect, which is always a good sign after you weld brackets on, right? So I bolted all the air ride stuff back in, and I ended up tearing half of it out, and I'll show you what I'm doing. Now, of course, when I bought this resto air ride kit, I knew I had the possibility that I was going to have to modify things to fit my custom application, where I've raised the trans up 2 inches. So, of course, that threw off the geometry, I'm sure, from how Max had designed it and built it. So, in doing what I've been doing with the, what is this? Airlift, airbag. When it would go up, when the suspension would raise up, the bottom of this bag was kind of tilted off to the side. So it was making the airbag kind of shift cockeyed like that, which I didn't like. Another thing that I'm doing here is, these are some Slam specialty bags. I ran these before, I really like them. I have not ran these in the past. They're only good for 100 pounds too, so my tank setup, it goes up to 185, and I'd rather not have to put like a regulator in line to, you know, max it out at 100, just in case like a valve gets stuck or something like that, you know what I mean? So I'm making some brackets. As you can see, the mounting holes are different, top and bottom. And another thing I'm going to be doing is adding a 1/4 inch plate underneath the bag in between the lower mount. You can see how much farther it brings it out. So the 1/4 inch plate, let's see if I can hold my phone and point. It'll go all the way back and then up to that bolt. Put a gusset in there, and then I might go off the bottom of the bracket, make a plate that comes down to here, something like that, just to reinforce it so this doesn't get tweaked out of the way. Another nice thing with these Slam specialty bags, they don't expand out, they only expand up. They're a double bellow, and they also have a built-in bump stop, which is cool. So if I'm lucky, adding that 1/4 inch plate on here should theoretically push it up enough. We're pretty close to our max collapsed height. So if I'm lucky, if I can spit it out without sitting here rambling on, that will be my bump stop for max drop. I tried putting a factory, a factory bump stop, even though I trimmed this off when I was first doing this. I tried putting a factory bump stop on here, go that way. Of course, I had to spread it out to fit over that extra thickness, but this side of the bracket right here was hitting on the bottom of this. So although I could make this work, I'm not going to. Alright, got that adapter plate put in there. Let's see, there it is. Push the bag all the way over. Now I'll put you guys on the stand here in a second, show you the clearance we got. Got that clearance there, that clearance there. Alright, I'll jack this thing up. Now that airbag's a lot more in line. I'm not sure if you can see it from this angle. I'll try holding the camera and jacking it at the same time. Here we're lifting it off the ramp. Let's put some light in here. See if I can put it behind there to make it easier to see. It's not hitting there. I checked that out before I had the tire on. Let me pull it off this stand. And I have not tested. Yeah, it's still rubbing. Looks like the bag's just barely touching the axle with it fully compressed. I like that bag's more in line now. So it looks like right about there it's rubbing. But that should do just fine. So now that I got that piece made, I have to come over here and make this one. Yeah, that'll do just fine. Awesome. That was a pain in the ass. But at least I know this kit can be pulled in and out without removing the trans. It's kind of a pain, but you gotta do what you gotta do, you know what I mean? Not gonna pull this trans out each and every time. But I'm pretty pleased with that. And looks like I'll definitely have to be changing this axle seal. You can see all the crap inside the rotor there, so I'll put this thing back on here in a minute. Back at it again. A couple days later, there's those plates, adapter plates that I made for the bracket. They're just drilled and bolted through. But as you can see, the bag, this camera would focus, is more in line, straight up and down compared to what it was. I'll put a screenshot in here of how it was set up before, but got this all bolted together. That plate's made, so we got just enough clearance where we need it. There's there. And in between the bag and the axle. Now these bags don't inflate out, they just inflate up. Now when the axle goes up higher on full lift, I'm sure it's going to be a lot closer to the bag. But we will find out here once we jack it up. So I've jacked this up once before, and the axle, since I preloaded these down rods, the axle will touch because it pulled that down. But I can jack this up until the axle touches. It will actually lift the car off of the jacks there, but wheel spins, and it's pretty close. There you can see the shiny rub marks from where it rubbed before. So we have, just by visual looking at it, we have about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a quarter. So I'm gonna have to definitely come up with some bump stops. I was thinking those plates might hit the internal bump stops on those bags, but looks like not, so I'm gonna have to come up with something. No big. So there's that. I like that. It turned out pretty good, so I can run these bags, and when I pull everything off, I'll show you what I had to do to modify the top. Pretty simple, just drilling some holes and making the opening bigger for the 1-inch fittings. And I'm going to try, if I have enough time while Noah's sleeping. These are the ride height control valves. They're off a semi. Obviously they're China, Amazon or eBay special. Not quite sure, but I need to make a mount for this. And then, where did I put them? These are they're tie rods for something for ATV maybe. This was cheaper than buying the threaded ends for like carburetor linkage. It's obviously way overkill, but who cares, it's cheaper, right? So this ought to work. So I'll put you guys back on when I get some more stuff up. I got one bump stop made. I'll show you guys what I did. So this was the first design that I came up with, and these are axles or pinion snubbers, whatever you want to call it, for a Tri-5 Chev. Pretty cheap. They just go where the pinion of the rear end is. Keeps it from hitting. But anyways, I made this little bracket to kind of sandwich the original shock tower, and it was going to go up against the top of the spring plate, but there was nothing to really keep it from rotating up unless I welded it to the chassis or did some kind of cross bracket. And I also didn't like the idea of it just being right on the edge, because I could see that just splitting this bushing. What do I know, though? I'm not an engineer. Backyard engineer, I guess. So this is what I came up with down here. This bolts through that adapter plate that I made or cut and drilled, and then I just bent up a piece of this 1/8" stock, and then when it goes to full compression, this mashes up against this frame horn and the lower bracket itself. You can kind of see, hopefully, the overhang. Not a whole lot, but enough. So plenty of clearance between the bag and that, especially seeing that these bags don't expand out. I'm going to have to trim that little tab a little bit, but big whoop-de-doo. There's that jacked up. It's off the weight of that. Let me put the tire on. Alright, here's the clearance on the tire. Nothing but axle bearings and rotors dragging, making noise. So you can see we got some light coming through. I'd guess about 7/16 clearance, maybe. Maybe even bigger than that. Maybe upwards of a 1/2 inch. So nothing wrong with that. Be a little bit taller, but I'm sure when the weight of the engine in the back of it and all that, it might squish down a little bit more. Seeing this is only on one corner of it, so yeah, got one bump stop made. Time to go make the other side, and then get on with the ride height control valves. All right, here we are again. I got the e-brake cable just kind of mocked up. I did come across one thing I'm gonna have to change a little bit. So here's where the shock's at, shock mount, blah blah blah. I'm gonna have to put that on the inside of the spring plate, and luckily it won't bottom out. But as you can see, my e-brake cable, it was already close to the head of the nut. I flipped that around too. It's not gonna hit anything, but it was already close before. Now that extra 1/4 inch is just pushing it way off to the side. So I'm gonna move that to the inboard side. Shouldn't be an issue. We'll find out. So here's the bracketry that I've just kind of slapped together so far. And there's the ride height control valve. And before I had this e-brake cable mounted up with this clamp. So I drilled a hole there, put a bolt through, and a little spacer, I guess you could say. I had to make the hole a little bit bigger because of the arc of the travel. You know, it kind of goes forward and back. It still pulls on the ride height control valve, but I'll show you from down below. So when this part of it is in line with this, that's the neutral position, that's the ride height. So I'll jack this thing up. Gotta use my leg here to operate the jack. So the brackets, they're not final, you know what I mean? I gotta get the fenders on to really dial them in. There's about neutral on that, and I don't know if you can tell, probably not, obviously, but it has it's on the Baja side of camber. so the top's sticking out a little bit. It had a slight bit of camber before, so I'll have to put the fender on and measure it when I do the final for the brackets. There it goes up, and we are up against the bump stop. So that should work out pretty slick. Now there is this nut here, and this bracket is slotted so I can adjust this black piece of the valve up and down for fine tuning. I was going to be using those rods and stuff that I got, the tie rods for the quad or whatever they were, but it's like, you know what, there's just no, I'm running out of room. There's no space. So this is more of a direct connection too, but I'll try to hold the camera steady and lower the jack down so you can see what it does flex or pull on that valve a little bit, if you can even tell. Anyways, I don't have that fully drilled yet. Like I said, I want to get the fenders on before I fully attach this, you know what I mean? I just have one bolt going through there in the center through these pre-drilled holes. A couple bolts there, a couple bolts there, just to bolt that stuff together. It doesn't look fully pro, you know what I mean? But for mocking it up, it's gonna do all right. Not that much flex in it. Definitely be stronger if I add a piece of this along the backside. But you can't complain for free steel, so. Now I just gotta set them up on the other side, and we're looking pretty good. I think I'm gonna end this video with this. You know, I mean, how much can I put into one video? It's already probably been long enough. I haven't even done any of the editing yet. I got a few to put together. It's been a couple weeks of doing this stuff, but some good progress in my mind. Yeah, the bags, they're up in there. I had to tear this thing apart a few times. I'm becoming the resto assembly and disassembly master over here. But that's all part of the game, you know, working on this stuff. Got new axle boots. These things are leaking 80-90 all over the floor. It freaking stinks. But a little bit nicer to do in the car with the trans raised, but I'll be doing it when I pull the trans out before I put it in for the final time. So yeah, I think I'll call this video quits. We're looking pretty good. Try to remember if there's anything else that I did that I didn't touch on. This side, I guess I'll go over this real quick. This side, you see I welded that factory tab on for the brake line. And see, there's where I was kind of messing around with fitting it. This side over here is turning out much better. Max gave these little tabs that clamp on to the axle tube. So this side, I'm just going to use that, and I'll probably do the same on this and just cut that other one off. And then I took the other brake lines I had off, that coiled up mess that I had here. I'll use the new stuff. Hey, look at there, rolling around. That's probably brake fluid from undoing the lines, or it could be transmission fluid from this leaky thing. But anyways, we're looking pretty good. Progress is always a good thing. So I think next up, after I get these rear brackets kind of pretty close to dialed in with the air ride control valves, I need to figure out where I'm going to put. I should probably make the fuel line that goes from the bulkheads down there up to, where are they? Up to these bulkhead fittings here. So that way those are run, and then make some oil lines for the oil cooler. Because I wanted to have all this stuff in here so that way I can make it all where it needs to go. Then I'll work on the front ride height control valves. Here those pieces are again. Can't remember if I showed them in another video. They're like 25 or 30 bucks a piece on Amazon. I bought these a while back, but I think these are going to be a hot ticket for automatic ride height control. So I'm going to make some brackets for these up front. I think the front's going to go a little bit easier than the rear. We will find out. And then I have to remake all the brackets for all my trunk setup. And then once all that's in, then I can wire up the new controller, put some air to this thing, and roll it outside. Got the Hound out here with me out in the garage, but it's been in here so long you can see the dirt line from where the rag top was, so I gotta pull this thing outside and air it up, wash it, clean off all this crap on the ground, and then come here, Shots, and then yeah, get back to it. Alrighty everybody, thanks for watching, thanks for subbing. Until next time, we'll catch you on the flip side.